Well, hello. This is my third YouTube video on the subject of the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas on May 24th, 2022. And in that time, more information has been gleaned about what happened, what went wrong, um, who is horrified at how things went badly, and what the possibilities are for the prosecution and potential conviction of the officers who were clearly in vast dereliction of duty in how they waited so long to actually do something meaningful. Um, if you're wondering about what I have to say here, all this information can be found via the Washington Post, NPR, Huffington Post, the Associated Press, NBC, the New York Times, and so very, very many more other news sources, as well as on scene spectator videos from during the whole horrible situation. Um, and so this is pretty much what we know so far. The armed school officer watched him enter the building, did not stop him, and just basically sat and waited for backup. We've been told that armed officers assigned to the schools were supposed to stop this from ever happening. And in fact, there had been a training in active shooter situations in the recent past. So we can see how well they fucking learned that lesson. Um, when they finally got there, the very heavily armed and geared up officers all waited about an hour before entering the school while kids were killed, um, kids bled out. And this is a time when, if they had been able to be reached soon enough, some of these kids might actually have been saved. So that in itself should be considered a crime. There was a child who repeatedly called 911 during the hour the gunman was inside. According to a press briefing, gunshots could be heard over the line, and she was begging, please send the police now. And a Texas DPS official said that the on-scene commander believed the active shooter situation had ended and that the children were no longer at risk. And his response was, it was the wrong decision. Wrong? Wrong seems like such a massive understatement here, and it is completely wrong. Um, when parents attempted to get into the school to get to their kids and rescue them, the officers that were outside tased them, pepper sprayed them, and then handcuffed them and arrested them. Meanwhile, the parents were begging to go in, and you could still hear shots being fired inside of the school. One of the mothers, she has two kids, and Jelly Rose Gomez, drove 40 miles to the school when she heard about the shooting, and after arriving, she was quickly handcuffed for intervening in an active crime scene. And she eventually persuaded law enforcement to release her. When she was released, she moved away from the crowd, hopped a school fence, sprinted inside the school to grab her kids, and made it out of the school with them alive. Um, but when officers did enter the school, they went to classrooms and rescued their own children and got them safely outside while these kids were being murdered in the other classroom. At one point, a few fathers got fed up, broke a classroom window, and started pulling kids out themselves. That's bravery. Um, at one point, officers lied and said the shooter had blocked and barricaded the door when he had just locked it. They said they were incapable of knocking it down or opening the locked door to the classroom where the shooter was. So they had a school employee come and do that for them with a key, putting that employee in extreme danger, his life. Um, as I said earlier, Uvalde SWAT had done a walkthrough of the school in February to prepare for a situation like this. Again, we see how fucking effective this was. Um, and why did these people not have the lessons of the shooter situation since Columbine to learn how to address this and to address it in the most efficient and life conscious manner? Because all they seemed to care about was their own lives as opposed to these kids. Um, when police did enter the classroom, they failed to neutralize the shooter first. So when another officer said that if any kids needed help, they should yell it, and the little girl did, she was promptly shot to death. That officer should never be in law enforcement ever again. My personal opinion is he should be in prison for manslaughter. The person who finally went in and took down the shooter was an off-duty Border Patrol officer who went in and took the shooter down without any backup while the local police were still outside, handcuffing and tasing parents and claiming they were waiting for more and more and more backup. The cops initially lied about the timeline, lied about what the shooter was wearing, lied about the response, lied about a barricade, and basically lied about multiple details that have in the past week been found to be lies. I refuse to use the statements of false statements or misspoke, because these were deliberate lies intended to cover their own asses. It may or may not surprise you to know that the police budget is 40% of the city of Uvalde's budget. So where has that money gone? Because clearly the people that they have working for them don't give a shit enough about these kids to have acted in a timely manner. And the most horrific thing about all of this is that because of the Supreme Court decision in Castle Rock v. Gonzalez from 2005 that was delivered by Justice Scalia, no matter how incompetent, cowardly, or negligent officers are, they cannot be held accountable for their negligence. And this is part of what has to change. Now, we need to stand up, and we need to stand up for our kids and for the kids whose lives have been ended in situations like this. I also want to note that in the past week, focus has been lost in a lot of ways on what's going on in Ukraine right now. And I want to state very publicly that I stand with Ukraine, and that little fucking scab, Vladimir Putin, should die in a slow fire. Because the atrocities that he's perpetrated on these people is disgusting. So anyways, if you've lasted this long, I appreciate it. And hopefully when I do another video, it'll be on a much happier note. Thanks for listening. Bye now.